Behind me is the famous, maybe not so famous, Ringling Church. And this is the town of Ringling, Montana. Now, some of you probably know who John Ringling is. He was one of the 7 Ringling brothers, and they are most known for the Ringling, Barnum, and Bailey Circus. John Ringling was the entrepreneurial, and he was also the last of the 7 Ringling brothers to survive. Well, he was invested in a lot of different things, and he came out here to Montana in hope to establish a rail line that would run all the way from, I'm turning around, all the way from West Yellowstone, which is directly that way. And he wanted people to see this beautiful country up here in middle Montana, central. I'll show you a map. But his plans didn't really work out. Yeah, one of his other plans was to build a 220-room motel at White Sulphur Hot Springs. But he did build this church, which was almost going to be run down and torn down until just recently. In 1921, a group of individuals gathered their funds, and previously, incidentally, it had been sold and resold, and nobody ever really did anything. It had been gutted down to the bare bones. And then, as I started to say, a group of people, and I imagine they're people who live in the community of Ringling, which is right here. And there's a few newer places up on the hillside. So, yeah, the group of people from Ringling, well, I'm assuming from Ringling, they could be from White Sulphur Springs, because that's not too far away, restored the inside of it. I'll show you a few pictures of that. And then on the back side, they built a nice little apartment. There's a link in the description of the Airbnb if you wanted to rent it. And yeah, in just a minute or two, I'll talk about our experience in staying here. We were going to stay 3 nights. We stayed 2 nights. So today it's not used as a church, but as a venue, a wedding venue, and an event venue. Okay, I'm actually interviewing myself because, well, we just got back from a little mini vacation, which we do because we like to tour around different places in Montana that we've just driven by but never really had the time to stop and visit. And one of those really cool places that I've always wanted to check out was Ringling, Montana. And the reason is because when I was a kid, we used to go down to Sarasota, and that's where the Ringling brothers, yeah, Barnum and Bailey, yeah, John Ringling is the one who actually came up to Montana. He had great plans for creating a railroad link all the way from north central Montana, the whole Ringling area, White Sulphur Springs, to West Yellowstone. Well, actually, that never really happened, but he did build a Catholic church. That was back in like 1880s, I guess, so I can put the real dates and everything in the description. And I got a lot of information, historical information, that I'll put in the description if you want to further explore it. It is pretty interesting. But what I wanted to talk about as a little clip inside this video is the experience there in the church. So the church has undergone a lot of sales. People have bought it and resold it and, you know, thinking they were going to do something. Well, nothing really ever happened to the church, and it was kind of falling down. But then in, I think it was 2020, 21, fairly recently, a group of people got together and they actually finished up the church and stabilized everything, and then they built this apartment on the end of it, and that's where we were staying, which I thought would have been super cool, up on top of the hill, seeing all the night lights and everything. So we booked a 3-day stay. Actually, we only stayed 2 days, and I'll tell you why here, because the first night when we got there, I don't know, I couldn't sleep. I felt really uncomfortable and anxious. My husband went to bed early, and I was still awake at like 1:30, 2 o'clock. So I'm reading, I'm doing different things. I felt kind of scared, which was weird. I mean, there's nothing out there, but it just felt really uncomfortable. And so I'm sitting in the living room, and of course it's warm outside, so the lights, I mean, I had the windows open and stuff, and off in the distance, I thought I heard coyotes, and, well, it didn't sound, it sounded at first like coyotes, because that's the first thing, you know, I would think of when I'm hearing some kind of, like, high-pitched noises. And then I listened, and it wasn't coyotes. And, well, I started hearing like a flute, you know, like those Indian, kind of thicker, lower sounding flutes. And I heard that. And it was off in the distance, and I just stopped, and I just listened. And it was like coming from the, let's see, that would have been over that way. It would have been east, I believe. There was like a hill behind us, and I felt like it was coming from back up on that hill and coming down, and it got closer and closer. It wasn't constant, but it was like now and then as it got closer, it became really clear. And it was clear to me because I myself, you would sit outside at night, and I have some of those Indian carved flutes, and it sounded just like that. Then it got really close, like it was, there's an underground garage from the apartment, and then I heard it stop, and then I heard this crash, like as if somebody was walking into metal, which is what the garage door was, and then it stopped, and then there wasn't anything. I got pretty freaked out. I thought, oh man. Because I really wanted to spend my evening sitting outside if I'm going to be awake, watching the stars and looking for shooting stars, because I do that a lot at my own house. I just didn't feel comfortable, so I decided what I would do is I would just go back to bed. I felt a little more safe and secure in there, and my husband just sleeping away and having no idea what was going on. So I was like, oh man, this is weird. So I never said anything to him about it. You know, I didn't wake him up or anything like that, but in the morning I told him about my experience, and he said, you know, he's kind of like, oh well. Well, then the second night, he wasn't sleeping well, which is pretty common, and he got up, I'm trying to think what time it was. You know, I think it was like in the middle of the night, somewhere between 2 and 4 or 5 o'clock, and he told me when I got up, he said I had the weirdest thing happen. He said, I'm sitting here and I saw, or he said, I heard somebody walking, just like, well, he was raised Catholic. This was a Catholic church back in the 1880s when it was first built. And he said it reminded him of when he was younger, and the priests would walk and they'd be wearing their heavy robes and they'd kind of swoosh, 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 swoosh. And that's exactly what he heard walking down the hallway, which was the entranceway to this place we were staying in. You go in and then there's a hallway to the main rectory of the church. And he said it was walking down, and he said it was like so clear. It was just absolutely the same sound he remembered hearing when he was a kid, someone walking out. So that like really confirmed what I was feeling, because the second night we were there too, I couldn't sleep. I just felt uncomfortable. It didn't feel right. And well, actually we didn't even stay for the third night because, well, the beds weren't very comfortable and there wasn't any really great place to sit, and being outside there wasn't a great place to sit, and that was kind of important to me. And that second night too, before Mike got up and heard those sounds, I went out. I was being brave, and I wanted to take some like time-lapse photos of the church, because as you can see in this video, it's pretty cool silhouette. You got the great night sky. And so I didn't have my tripod, but I was holding up against the back of my car, trying to take, you know, getting all my lights set up, and that's what you see in that little flick in the beginning. I was trying to get my lights set up, and then at one point, I didn't get this on film, but at one point I could have sworn that I saw this image of like some figure that would have probably been about 6 feet in a, like a robe, and it was like lighter than anything else in the picture. And you can see from those earlier pictures, you know, they're bad, and I couldn't really figure it out. But in this one place between two windows, I saw this figure like of a person wearing a robe. And so I thought, I mean, I wasn't really ever even going to say anything, but once he talked about that, then I realized, and this place is really haunted, and it's haunted, I'm sure, by a priest. Now, having heard his story and my story, that was pretty weird. So I just thought, well, why don't I interject this into the video? I usually don't talk much on the videos, and I don't share a lot of the personal stuff, but this is pretty interesting. So it is definitely haunted. I don't care what anybody else says. It's a haunted church, and if you want a cool experience, I would really actually recommend renting it. They'll probably make some upgrades in the apartment, and it was really clean and nice, and you know, it was appointed quite well. There are a few things that could be changed, but anyway, that is the story of the haunting we experienced on our little 2-day, should have been 3-day mini vacation in Ringling, Montana.